gracious God, here at this table of your word. May we find the wisdom and the encouragement to give our lives away as gifts to the world for Christ's sake. Amen.
Amen.
Please be seated. So, it's first century Palestine under Roman domination. The Romans have come in, and among other things, they've reorganized all the agriculture in the region. You're a subsistence farmer. You are farming land that your family has had for generations. You have a small home in a little village there. The Romans come in, they take all that land, consolidate those into large farms under the control of rich people, and they leave you with nothing. Your family has lost their land, you lost your livelihood, and you don't know what you're going to do next. You know what that feels like? You ever had an experience like that? To not know where the next paycheck is coming from, where the next meal is coming from, to be uncertain about what the next day will bring. If you're like one of those guys, you end up moving into the city looking for work, probably as a day laborer most times. And you'll head off in the morning before the sun comes up to find, whatever the first century equivalent is of a Lowe's parking lot. And in the pre-dawn hours, with your hands in your pockets trying to stay warm while your breath is steaming, standing around with dozens of other people who are in the same situation as you, waiting for the bosses to come by to pick up people to work in the fields and work the construction sites, etc. And here they come in their F-250s or whatever, the equivalent was back then, in their wagons, and they look out and everybody clambers around, including you, and they just go, you, in the back. And they all load up in the trucks and they go, they didn't pick you. And it's all right. It's still early. There's still possibilities. There's still, a lot of the day is left ahead of you. You may not be able to pay all bills today. Maybe you're going to have to, wait on the electric bill or something like that. You're paying higher rent now because you had to move in an emergency situation. But, you should be able to, if you can find something here a little later, you'll be able to feed the family today. A little later in the morning, the trucks come by again, and everybody starts clamoring. They go, you, and you. Those guys hop in the back and they go off, but they still didn't pick you. And now you start to get a little worried. Because half the day is gone. Half a day's pay is out of your hands. And now, maybe you can't afford to buy the diapers for the kids. Maybe, grandma's insulin now is going to be out of reach. You're not so sure. Maybe you'll still be able to make enough for the kids to eat tonight. But you and the wife maybe will go without. Finally, everybody else is kind of drifting away looking for other opportunities, and it gets into the afternoon, and one lone truck comes back around. Guy looking for some people to work the last little bits of the day, and he finally picks you. You jump up into the back of the truck and you head to wherever it is, and you get out and you work for a couple of hours. There's still some daylight left. And you work hard, and it comes time at the end to queue up, and the boss comes out and puts his table there, and everybody lines up. You line up with them to come up and receive your pay. And your mind is so filled with distractions right now. You're wondering, where did I find, tuna on sale at the dollar store, or where can I get some formula for the baby, or anything like that. And your mind is so occupied with that you don't even notice when the man gives you the money, and you walk away, and it's a couple of minutes before you even look down at your hand and you realize there is a whole day's pay. What are you going to do? You're going to cry. That's what you're going to do. Because tonight, you will walk through your front door with your head held high, and groceries in your arms, and everybody gets to eat tonight, and the bills get paid tonight, and you and your family make it one more day. Now, there's always somebody in the story who goes, well, wait a minute. I worked harder, I worked longer, I deserve more. That person didn't earn all of that. And Jesus, looking out at this crowd of first century people, filled with anxiety, oppressed and confused and afraid and uncertain about what the next day is going to bring, looks at that and wondering, does God even care anymore? Or has he just left us at the devices of these wealthy and powerful people who control our lives? Jesus looks out at those folks and he says, here's what I want you to hear. Here's what I want you to understand. That guy, that boss at that table, who gave each and every one of those workers not what they had earned, not what somebody thought they deserved, but what they needed to hold body and soul together. That guy, that's my Father. That's what he's like. Now, I don't know where you're at today. I've been watching a lot of news coverage the last few days, especially about the impact of this year. Feels like 100 years in some ways. And that's part of it. It's not even just the disease or the politics or the economics or anything else. It's all of that piled together. And people are stressed and in anxiety and depression, and they're lonely and they're isolated and they're hurting and confused. We are, all of us. And in a few moments, we will come to God's table. We'll line up in the queue and we'll come, and our hearts and our minds will be filled with distraction and confusion, with anxiety and depression, with uncertainty and fears and questions, wondering if God cares or if we are simply left at the mercy of the powerful. And our hands will be empty. And God will fill them, not with what we want or think that we want, but with what we need. And what he gives us is his own life. A life which is given through the trauma of the cross. God is not distant. There's that old Midwest song, God is watching us from a distance. That first part wrong. You know, it's not from a distance. God is here, present with us. And God gives us God's own life to be enough, to be what we need, and to make us people whose hands are full, to give to everyone who's in need, to be a community where people can find release from anxiety and fear and uncertainty and isolation and loneliness, to find love and acceptance and mercy, kindness and deliverance, help, from the tangible all the way up to the most intangible, seemingly innocuous kinds of things. Like, is there somebody to talk to? Is there somebody who understands me? Is there somebody who knows what I'm going through, who will stand by my side? God puts in our hands his own life to make us a people who are enough in the midst of a world desperate